Happy Sunday, YouTube. It is Amateur Dabbler here. Gonna fill one of these beds this morning because I got some sweet potato slips in the mail on their way from eBay, coming from Louisiana, that I'm gonna plant. Now, normally I told you that I don't plant anything here in the summer. It is 8 o'clock in the morning right now. It is already approaching 90 something degrees out. So you can see how difficult it is to grow in the heat of Southwest Florida summer. On top of that, we get torrential rainpour every day. So with the exception to that would be to grow sweet potatoes and peppers. Those are the only two things really that are worth spending the time and effort to grow. Sweet potatoes don't take a lot of upkeep, so that's why I grow them. Peppers I grow in the winter anyhow, so I don't have to worry about growing them in the summer. But I did want to get at least one box of sweet potatoes going this summer. Today is June the 24th, I believe, so a little bit late, but it's going to be hot, humid, sticky all the way until the middle of October here, so sweet potatoes will still grow well, pretty much planted any time during the summer in Southwest Florida. So once again, I run a Mittleider style garden here. However, the mix that I put in there is more so a Mel's mix than the standard like peat and sand or sawdust and sand that they recommend. The reason I do that is I find that here in Florida, with all the rains we get, it was just washing the nutrients out of the boxes too quickly. Plus the fact that my whole yard here is made from sugar sand. And I find by using the Mel's mix that I don't have to amend the soil so much. So I was always adding extra nutrients in, which can get quite expensive. I figured, why not just spend a little bit of extra money up front, put a nice compost mix in there, and then I won't have to worry about extra feedings for the garden. I won't have to worry about adding extra phosphorus or potassium or whatever it may be that the plants were lacking. So doing it this way just saves myself that one extra step, and I'm going to show you now how we put the mix together. So the Mel's mix that I'm using here, the mix that I'm using to fill the box with, is a mixture of three things: compost, vermiculite, and peat moss. What I like to use is a 5-gallon bucket. You get these from Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart. They're only about $3. And the first thing that I'm going to start in with is one full 5-gallon bucket of peat. So the next part here is going to be vermiculite. So it's 1 part peat, 1 part vermiculite, 1 part compost. Vermiculite is a heated volcanic rock that basically, once heated to I think about 1500 degrees, it expands and adds air pockets. More specifically, what this is going to do is hold moisture and nutrients into the mix. Does not add any nutritional value whatsoever. That's all going to come from the compost and then the addition of the nutrients that I add to the mix. Now ideally you want to use a coarse grade vermiculite. This is not. This is more, I think, like an A2. What you're really looking for is an A3 or a C3, but this will do the job. This is what my local nursery had, and you make do what's within your area. So then we're just going to go ahead and add the additional vermiculite into the peat moss, and then each time I add a component, I will mix it up. Each layer. Easiest way to do this is with your hands. Obviously you could use a hoe or something if you wanted to. I just find this easier if mixed by hand. We're going to also have to add some moisture in here. My compost that I have laying on the ground is pretty wet, so I don't want to add any additional moisture in here until I get that compost in, because obviously we don't want this super saturated with water. But we do want it moist, and like I said, my compost is very, so this compost here, I'm not going to put it in the bucket. I know that each one of these bags equals around 1 bucket, and we're also going to be adding some worm castings in here, so the compost part doesn't need to be exact. This is a compost that I pick up here locally, Florida Lee NC. This is basically made from the Florida dump, so they take in plant material, they turn it, compost it, and you could buy it either by the bag, or you can buy it by the yard if you have a truck, which I don't, so I just pick it up in bags. You can see how nice dark and rich this compost looks. Like I said, it's been sitting here since last winter. All the rain and everything, it's fairly wet right now. Now I'm just going to go ahead and mix the last component in, breaking up any chunks as I'm moving it around. And we'll be back in a minute, and I'll show you how to amend this. So the next component that's going to go in is just some worm castings. Don't ever measure this. I just put a couple large handfuls of this in. It's going to add some great nutrients to the mix. And then just, once again, you want to break up any chunks. And then make sure you just mix everything in pretty well. So this is definitely, I got the compost in here, this is definitely going to need some moisture added. It's still very not clumping together, as you could see. What you're looking for is just moist enough for this to clump together, almost like if you wanted to make a snowball out of it. And we're not there yet. So here you can see I got 2 buckets. These are the Mittleider nutrients that we add. So this one here is a weekly feed. This is a combination of NPK. In Florida I can only get 10-10-10, but they recommend using a 13-13-13 all the way through a 20-20-20. Once again, I use what's available to me, same as if in your area you can only get a 10-10-10. You could use it, if you're using the sand and sawdust with the 10-10-10, you're going to want to, instead of feeding every 7 days, you'll feed every 5, and that should help make up for the difference in lacking of the extra 3 to 10% of NPK. So this is a mixture of NPK at 10-10-10, mixture of magnesium sulfate, which is Epsom salt, also the addition of the Mittleider micronutrients, which you can purchase online, and I'll make sure to include the link to purchase the nutrients down below. And then I also add in, you can see here, there's some perlite in there. That's basically just to absorb all the extra moisture you get from the Epsom salt or the magnesium sulfate. So the Mittleider course book calls for 1/2 ounce or 1 tablespoon per linear foot. Like I said, this is 2 linear feet or 2 cubic feet in here. So I'm going to go in here with 2 tablespoons of the weekly feed. This here is the pre-plant mix. This is 4 pounds of lime, 4 ounces of boron, and then 4 ounces of Epsom salt or magnesium sulfate, and then 1 ounce of boron, which can be picked up at the grocery store in the form of borax, laundry aid, detergent aid. And for this, the weekly or the pre-plant, it calls for 1 ounce per linear foot, which would be 4 tablespoons. 2, 3, and 4. So a couple other things you may want to pick up. Well, one other thing would be the Mittleider gardening course. This is the old book here. I've had this for quite a while. They came out with a new one about a year ago. It's got color pictures in it. It's pretty neat. You can pick this up for 25 bucks, around 25 bucks at growfood.com. I'll include the link down below for you for that as well. But this really is going to be your Bible. This is going to give you all the information you need to grow a Mittleider style garden. Once again, we've added 1 ounce of the pre-plant mixture, which is the lime, magnesium sulfate, Epsom salt, and boron, or borax. If you live in an area that gets less than 20 inches of rain annually, you want to swap out the lime for gypsum. But living here in Southwest Florida, we get way more than 20 inches of rainfall annually. And I'll just go some of what's required for plants to grow and why we're putting everything in here. So I believe there's 16 essential plant nutrients that plants need to not just grow but to thrive. 3 of them are found in the air, and it's carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. Primary nutrients, which we get from, in my case, adding 10-10-10, but like I said, you go all the way up to a 20-20-20, are going to be nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. That's your NP and K. The secondary nutrients you would get from growfoods.com in the form of a micronutrient packet that comes pre-mixed. Definitely would recommend going that route as to mixing it yourself, because it can be quite a bit more expensive and labor intensive to do it yourself. It's just easier to pick it up, and you get like two packages from them, I think, for about 15 bucks, which is pretty cost effective. Those 2 packs will last for my garden for 2 full seasons, and I grow 3 seasons, so winter, spring, and fall. And then so the secondary, or the micronutrients that we're adding in the form of that micronutrient pack, which is mixed into my weekly feed, is going to be calcium, magnesium, sulfur, then the trace elements of boron, copper, iron, magnesium, zinc, molybdenum, and chlorine. That's all mixed in that micronutrient pack. Plus I've added the worm castings, the compost, which is giving extra nutrients to my soil. I'm basically creating a living soil as opposed to an inert soil, which is actually what the Mittleider Garden course calls for. And then the last addition that we're going to add is some azomite. I just like to add more micronutrients into mine, and we'll be right back and I'll show you how we put that in. So this here is azomite. This is a rock dust, a powdered rock dust. I picked this up at one of my local nurseries, and basically this is A to Z of micronutrients. I think there's around 140 different micronutrients in here. And I add a small mason jar, or 8 ounces, which is about half a pound, to each 2 cubic feet that I make. You can go up to a whole pound if you want, but this stuff is kind of pricey. This bag here is about $40, at least in my area. So I only use just the 8 ounces per, but you really could and should, if you could afford it, use 2 of these. And we'll just go ahead now and get this mixed in. And that's really it. We'll go ahead and pour this wheelbarrow into our grow bed. So I did forget to add the moisture here. What I'm going to do is just put, I don't even know how much, just doing it by eye, just enough to get this just damp, like I said, just so we can make a snowball out of it. And right there should probably be enough. I'll go ahead and get this mixed up, and I'll show you what the moisture content that you're looking for is. So what we got here now is a nice nutrient dense, arid, fluffy soil. The roots will go great in this stuff. I had to add a little bit more water than what I showed you originally, but that's really what you're looking for, is basically just kind of like a dirt ball that will slightly hold together, but as soon as you touch it, will crumble on its own. That's the moisture level you're looking for there. So now we're just going to have to do this maybe like 4 or 5 times all the way down the length of the bed just to fill it up, and once it's full we'll screed it and we'll even everything out. Okay, so it's taken me about 3 wheelbarrows full, or 6 cubic feet, almost a yard. Or no, I'm sorry, a yard would be 27. So almost basically 6 cubic feet to fill this up. You can see the end of the box down here. I've already screeded it, and screeding is basically just taking a level piece of wood and moving the dirt from one end to the other, leveling it off, and I'll show you how I do that real quick. So to screed, all you need is first off a flat piece of wood. This is looks like a 1x4 that I'm going to use. What I'll do is I'll tug a little bit of the soil backwards just to give it a level edge starting off with, and then really I'm just pushing my way down the length of the box, keeping everything nice and level, and if I have to, I'll back some of the dirt up just to level it off once again. And I work my whole way down, and that's really it. The box is now filled and level. Now the very last thing I got to do is just do a little bit of top dressing of this with water. You don't need too much. Definitely one of these water wands will come in handy for you down the road. And then the last step for me to do will just be to hook up the self-watering system. I'll do that later on in the week, and hope to be back showing you a video of me doing it as well. So it is now a few days later, and I have the automatic watering system. You can see this PVC pipe, that's 3/4 inch pipe. I have it hooked up. Once again, if you want to learn how to do this, it is all in the Mittleider Gardening course book. Once again, link below. Here is my watering system. I have 4 lines feeding into these beds. So basically one zone, each one of these zones is one of these lines. So zone A is here and here. Zone B is these 2 beds. C is the 4-foot bed there, and D is the 4-foot bed down here. Now I have this hooked up to a battery powered watering system. This will plug into here, and I'll show you in a minute what it looks like when it's running. My plan is that sometime this summer or early fall is to run a electric sprinkler system out here, and to put the box somewhere up there on the back porch. But that is my goal, sometime when I have the money and the time, is to get that done, because I have to switch out these batteries, you know, once a month, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. It's easier just to have a automatic, electric one running out here. So we'll go ahead and manually turn this on. So basically what I have here is 3 holes drilled into the 3/4 inch pipe running down the length of the bed. This is a 16-foot bed, 18 inch wide, so it's 18 by 16 foot grow bed. And there's my automatic watering system. This bed is done and complete. I have some sweet potato slips right now that I am getting to root, sitting in a windowsill, and that is what's going to go into this bed probably sometime next weekend, just depending on how long they actually take to put up some nice roots. So thanks everybody for stopping by and watching. Hope you liked my version of how to fill a Mittleider style grow bed. It's a little bit unconventional as to how most people do it with the sand and sawdust, but once again, this is the version that works best for me. Thanks for stopping by, and hope to see you next time.